This is Flat Out Agility, an Australian agility podcast. I'm Grace. Today's episode is taking inspiration from Blair Braverman's most recent appearance on the podcast You're Wrong About, in which she talked about the 5 stages of the hunter, a concept related to the hobby and sport of hunting, mostly in the United States. Now, I know I said this is an Australian podcast, and here I am talking about an American concept. Well, just listen and you'll understand. And also, I'm Australian, so by definition, all of my perspectives are Australian perspectives. So, Blair learned the 5 stages of the hunter during a gun safety course she took years ago, and in the episode, she talked about how she found it applied to practically everything in life. Being a dog nerd, I immediately started applying the 5 stages of the hunter to dogs, and I thought today I would explore the stages and how they relate to agility. As Blair noted, these stages are phases that we evolve through. As we learn, grow, and experience more in the sport, we change the way we see and approach the sport. Whether you're new to agility or you've been in the sport for years, this lens could be useful for reflecting on your journey and planning your next steps. Let's talk about how we grow as competitors, as trainers, and as people in this sport. Now, first, let me explain the 5 stages of the hunter. So I'm taking the definition from a website called Boone and Crockett Club. It says, regardless of our motivations for hunting, studies show that all sportsmen evolve through or are currently in one of the 5 identified stages in their hunting careers. As we age and our experiences accumulate, what we give and get back from hunting changes over time. As careers in hunting evolve, so too are the hunter's attitudes and commitments to conservation. The first stage of the hunter is the shooter stage. So in the hunting world, seeing game and getting shots is what matters most, and misses are of little concern. Skills are being tested and refined, including field shooting skills and whether or not to take a shot. So to apply this to agility, this is the beginner stage, being a newbie or a novice. You just want to get out there and do agility. It doesn't really matter how or where or why. You're not worried about perfect handling or contacts, and you don't even really know what cues are. You just want to do agility. This is where you start attending as many classes as you can, training at home, maybe researching online. But as with taking up any new hobby, you have to suck at something before you can be good at it. The shooter stage is crucial. It's where you learn all the essentials and get a real understanding of and feel for the sport. The most successful shooters will be fueled by their excitement through the steep learning curve of agility. I was in this stage for a long time, which I think is probably common. With my Skipper Luca and my Papillon Marcy, I never got any further than the shooter stage. In agility, you aren't just limited by your own skill, effort, and interest, but also by your dog's. This means a lot of us end up circling the shooter stage for quite some time. But I also think this means that we can spend a lot of time learning the basics. And for those of us that train multiple different dogs through this stage, it can help develop our understanding of agility better. The second stage of the hunter is the limiting out stage. This is when the satisfaction of just seeing game and getting a shot is now not enough reward. This is replaced with the need to bring home game, and not just one but a limit of birds or filling a tag. This is more than just about being a hunter. It's about proving yourself as a skilled hunter who gets the game every time they go out. In agility, this is when just doing the sport is not enough. This is where the allure of getting to the trialing level starts. It's about proving yourself. Often this can mean chasing qualifications and wanting to earn those clean runs. I think this stage is important for building something of a philosophy of agility as well, working out your ethics and figuring out your boundaries in the sport as you experience competition. But it's also where you can get stuck focusing on numbers instead of living in the moment and enjoying every run with your dog. You can start getting ahead of yourself and thinking about qualifying to the detriment of your connection with your dog. Limiting out is the stage I'm currently in with my dog Topaz. We are in novice and working our way through the qualifications required for her first titles. My focus at the moment is training Topaz for specific skills I'll need for trials and aiming to enter as many trials as possible. But I've also experienced trials already where I was too busy thinking about a possible future instead of focusing on Topaz and her needs. You learn something in every stage, and in this stage, you start to figure out who you are in competition and then by extension, who you want to be. The third stage of the hunter is the trophy stage, where shooting opportunity and quantity of game are replaced by self-imposed selectivity in the pursuit, and the quality of game taken begins to trump quantity. So in agility, this is when you're moving beyond just clean runs and qualifications. Now you're chasing specific titles or entering specific competitions or aiming for specific placings. Maybe you're striving for an agility champion, or maybe you've got a more personal goal that's not competition related. This stage requires more advanced skills, patience, and perseverance. With this level of experience, the agility philosophy that you started forming in the limiting out stage is now being solidified as you understand what makes sustainable competition performances. It's not just about your training, it's also about your dog's fitness and emotional well-being. It's about your setup at trials, what you do between runs, your routines. This is also the stage where you might put more stock into how courses are designed, how other teams are progressing, or even how trials operate. You're thinking about your community and considering what you can contribute to keep it strong. You care about this sport a lot now. You have trophies that you're going after. So it matters that you start putting into the ongoing success of the sport. But sometimes title chasing can lead to tunnel vision. If a particular title becomes your only definition of success, it can overshadow everything else and damage your relationship with your dog and the sport. The fourth stage of the hunter is the method stage. This is when the how taken has become more important than the what taken. In agility, this is where the how becomes much more important than the what. So this is the stage that comes after training agility for a long time, perhaps experiencing the sport with different dogs and achieving some goals in trialing. The technical skill starts to matter more. Clean runs are much less important than the method of how a run is handled. Instead of did we qualify, the important question becomes how did that run feel? In this stage, you are studying course design. You might take a weekend off trialing to practice a specific skill. You understand now that some goals require higher patience and discipline. I guess the dark side of the method stage can be the trap of perfectionism. You might get frustrated with runs that don't feel good, and you might overthink or become hypercritical of minor mistakes. But with a deeper understanding of the sport and experience with one or more dogs, the entire approach to agility is carefully considered at all times in this stage, and every experience with your dog is cherished. The final stage of the hunter is called the sportsman stage. This is where, in hunting, the urgency to take game or a trophy fades to the background as the total hunting experience now offers its highest rewards. So in agility, this is where you can look back at your entire journey and feel fondness for each stage, each step on the path to where you are now. But your approach to the sport is more holistic. It's about your relationship with your dog, your community, your connections. You soak it all in at a trial. You don't feel the nerves as much about putting in a good performance. You have the experience and the confidence to not worry about trials in the same way that you used to. Achievements, goals, and wins are important, but specifically because they are cherished memories. You might even be coaching or supporting other handlers by this stage and passing on your passion for the sport. This is where community building, the philosophy of agility, and the sustainability of the sport have all become important aspects of your interest. Now, going back to the Boone and Crockett Club, it says, not all hunters experience each stage completely or necessarily in this order. Some may enter motivated by the trophy stage, some are completely satisfied stopping at any one of the stages, and some progress all the way through. There is no right or wrong. I think this is an important point. While generally we would expect to evolve through the stages, as with all things in life, things aren't going to be perfectly linear. For my own experience, I identify most strongly as being in the limiting out stage right now, but I also relate to aspects of the sportsman stage, because this is what I've been doing at my club for a few years now, focusing on sustaining the future of the sport and coaching others. So I don't think it's a perfectly discrete categorization, but it is an interesting framework for thinking about an entire agility career and what the evolution might typically be for an agility handler. I also think it's important not to rush through these stages. Every stage of agility is precious because at every stage you're out there doing something fun with your dog. While the sportsman stage is defined by the focus on the experience, this can be something we apply to all stages now with the benefit of a whole picture view. To achieve this, it might be useful to ask ourselves, what motivates me to step into the ring? Do my current goals align with the kind of handler I want to be? I think when you start to do agility with different dogs to the dog that you started out with, a lot of this becomes a bit easier as you move through the stages all over again. Every new dog we embark with on this journey gives us the opportunity to learn something new as we restart the process, but with the benefit of hindsight to try harder to be better every time. And if we listen to our dogs, they teach us to live in the moment and make the most of the joy. I would love to hear from you about what you think of the 5 stages of the hunter, whether you think it's a useful framework or which stage you think you're in, or maybe if you would categorize agility differently. Let me know. This has been Flat Out Agility. Be kind to dogs.